Well, good afternoon and happy Friday, May 10th. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Win TV. Today, I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. And yeah, it's a gray, gloomy, rainy day here in Washington, D.C., and I guess maybe up the whole East Coast. But at any rate, it's going to be a great weekend. And it's great to be back. Last week, along with a few members of the Washington Informer staff, attended a conference and awards program with the Maryland, Delaware, DC Press Association in Annapolis, Maryland. And the Washington Informer received a few awards for which we are so very proud. Looking forward to just giving a shout out to Misha Green and Brenda Seiler, and I think it's Anthony Tillman and one other person, Stacey Brown. Right. Those are hardworking members of our Washington Informer team who were recognized for the work that they did in 2023. So we just want to keep piling up those awards. And I have to give a shout out also to our what I call a sister publication, the Afro-American in Baltimore, because they too walked away with quite a few awards. So thanks to you, we are continuing to do what we do, keeping the Black press alive, continuing to tell your stories. And we're doing it right here on YouTube, on Win TV, and on this program, Let's Talk. So I want to thank you so much for your support of the Washington Informer. I hope hope this is not news for most of you all, but Sunday is Mother's Day. So hint, hint, if you have forgotten, just realize that if you have a mom or a mom-like person out there who has really done a lot to support you, make sure that she is recognized this day on Monday. That's Monday, May the 12th. So it's just 2 days away. So take care of your mom. And but May is a busy month altogether. May is Mental Health Month. It's Older Americans Month. It's National Health and Physical Fitness Month. And it is graduation month. The HBCUs, always like to have those graduations on Mother's Day weekend. So congratulations to all of the graduates. Howard University is having their graduation tomorrow, as well as the University of the District of Columbia. So I know students have been busy. It's been active. Some of these students actually came through at the end of the pandemic, started college and ended after the pandemic was over. So a lot of them, we really need to be commended for having sort of a different type of college experience than some of us had, but yet they made it through. So congratulations to everybody. Joining us today is Lisa M. Gomez. She's the U.S. Department of Labor Assistant Secretary for Employee Benefit Security, and she's going to share what we need to know about workers' rights to health care, the legal requirements for employers and insurers, the federal government's plan to ensure equal access to mental health benefits, and resources for those battling barriers to care. Great conversation, important conversation, and very timely. So make sure that you're here to listen to Lisa. And we look forward to also talking to Gary Charles, founder and CEO of the Advancement of Blacks in Sports. We're going to explore the issue of racial equity in collegiate and professional athletics, a hot topic that continues to stay on the top of the news topic of news. And so Gary's going to be here to kind of tell us what we need to know more about, because a lot of those young athletes that are coming out of middle schools and high schools and going on to college and professional sports, this organization is one that really looks after the issues that impact them. And finally, I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation and the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable, who she's going to be here to talk about the GOTV, Get Out the Vote campaign. For many in the DMV, the primary date is coming up next week in Maryland. In DC, it's June the 4th, and primaries are taking place across the country. And we want to make sure that we actually get out to vote. This has been a crazy, crazy political season. is not getting any better. But it doesn't mean that we need to stay at home. So we want to make sure that everybody gets out to vote. And the coalition, Melanie Campbell and her coalition, have been actively engaging the community to make sure that we don't stay home on this election season. So I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer. This is it. And we have some great stories in here. One, there's been a lot of activism happening on college campus and what have you. But, some parents actually raise their children to learn how to become activists, to learn how to speak out about the issues that impact them, and start at an early age. This doesn't happen overnight, and we have to give children permission to express their voices, their ideas, and do it in a very, hopefully, positive and impactful way. Great story in here about that, as well as a mother of 12 in the District of Columbia. James Wright wrote the story about a mother of 12. And she has really a great story to tell, despite some of the challenges that she's faced. Anybody knows if you have one child, there's going to be challenges. If you're raising 12, so you don't want to miss that story. And also, of course, Sam Collins has been out and talking with folks who were on the campus of GW University and the protests that took place there. And Hamil Harris actually attended the vigil for the 3-year-old that was fatally shot and the family members that were there. So those are some of the stories that you'll see this week in the Washington Informer, in addition to the fact that we also published our quarterly health, fitness, and wellness supplement, looking primarily this week on fitness and sports. So some great stories about things that are happening here in the DMV. Ed Hill, our sports writer, helped to pull a lot of that together, as well as our editor, Misha Green. So the paper's packed full of good stuff. So if you didn't pick up a print edition, which, as you know, they're available throughout the DMV, and if there's some place you'd like to receive the paper, just let us know. But you can also visit us on our website at washingtoninformer.com, and there you can pick up a digital edition. While you're there, I'm going to ask you to please consider signing up to receive our Win Daily newsletter. Every single day, we put together news updates from the DMV, news you can use, news you may not have known about, news that only we are covering. And we send that newsletter out every single day. So we hope that you'll sign up for the newsletter. And most importantly, it's free. So with that, I'm also asking if you would share today's broadcast on your social media channels and follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok. We're still on TikTok? Okay, TikTok, Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We're everywhere you are. So wherever you are, if you see the Washington Informer, hopefully you'll visit and you will sign up to follow us on those channels. It's really important. And lastly, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. There's one word, no spaces, Washington Informer TV. We have a very modest goal of acquiring 1,000 YouTube subscribers. We're nearly there, but we certainly would love it if you would sign up and become one of our subscribers on YouTube. And I am going to thank you in advance for helping us to reach that magic number. And as soon as we do, I'll let you know. Thank you so much, and continuing to watch us. Now we're going to turn to our weekly news broadcast with Curtis Knowles.
This is Curtis Knowles with Win TV News. There are nearly 250 playgrounds in public parks across PG County, but a third of them are outdated, worn out, and in need of repair. However, many of them will be getting the attention they need, as the Department of Parks and Rec is announcing it is teaming up with the Bethesda-based nonprofit Kaboom and the group's 25 and 5 initiative to end place-based inequality. Kaboom works to build new playgrounds in communities where resources for new playground equipment isn't as plentiful, and the 25 and 5 initiative promises to spend the next 5 years building new playgrounds in such communities across the country, with PG being one of the first chosen. Angel Waldron, who is with the county's Parks and Rec department, said, quote, "It's been a win-win because we've been able to service and reach more of the youth in PG County by providing these innovative and gorgeous playgrounds with Kaboom." In order to address issues for students in the LGBTQA plus community, the PG County School System is hosting its first inaugural Pride Summit, offering a list of sessions and workshops for students, staff, and parents of LGBTQA plus students, and the summit will be held virtually. There, students will be taking part in the summit, will get more information about what support and resources exist, including mental and physical health, as well as what rights they have. Sheila Jackson, director of the Department of Family and Community Partnership, said, quote, PG County Public Schools are truly committed to making sure that every student who enters our doors feels welcome, feels accepted, and feels appreciated. Just hours before sunrise on Wednesday, May 8th, legions of Metropolitan Police Department officers raided and shut down an encampment that student activists set up on the campus of George Washington University in solidarity with Palestine. The shutdown puts an end, at least for the time being, an act of civil disobedience aimed at compelling GWU's divestment from Israel and companies that support its government. Several students, including those the MPBD arrested, said the early morning raid only strengthened their resolve to protest what they call GWU's brazen and full-blown support of Zionism. One student, who goes by the name of Noor, said, quote, we will not allow these systems to walk right over us. We are here, strong, and our energy has not been dissipated.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Boy, a lot of news here in DC, and so glad that we are trying to keep you up to date and on as many platforms as we can. So Curtis Knowles is doing a great job. And at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Lisa M. Gomez, the U.S. Department of Labor Assistant Secretary for Employee Benefits. Lisa, welcome to Let's Talk.
Thanks so much for having me, Denise. Happy to be here.
Well, you know, I say that, and we talked a little earlier, so I'm part of the welcoming committee, so I'm welcoming you to Washington, D.C. as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you like the city? You said you've been here for about a year.
I've been here about a year and a half, coming from New York, New Jersey. So I've always loved Washington, D.C. I'm kind of, getting to know my way around and visiting places. So it's great. It's been great.
Wonderful. And so you're at the U.S. Department of Labor. It's my pleasure to have you as our first guest from the Department of Labor, and to come at a time when we really do need to talk about the whole issue of, as someone said earlier, mental wellness. So if you can just start off, tell us about your role at the Labor Department, and then how you all have sort of prioritized mental health as an issue that needs to be addressed by federal government, and I'd say local government and the private sector.
Sure. No, thank you so much. And I love the news you can use, because hopefully a lot of people can use this information. So many people are living with mental health and substance use disorder conditions, whether themselves and their families, with friends, coworkers. And at the Department of Labor, we are committed generally to protecting the rights of workers and their families. And at the Employee Benefit Security Administration, which is the agency within the Department of Labor that I have the privilege of working with and leading, our main goal is to protect health and retirement benefits for America's workers and their families. And particularly, one of our largest focus is on mental health and substance use disorder benefits, because mental health wellness is such a critical part of wellness for everyone. And we want to be a great resource for people that need help in accessing benefits. And under federal law, people have a right to not have to face greater restrictions in trying to access care for mental health and substance use disorder conditions. You shouldn't have to run further, jump higher, be going through more hoops to try to go see a doctor or get treatment or medication if you are suffering from severe anxiety than if you are suffering from severe knee pain. It should all be the same. And we're getting to there, but that's not the place we're in yet. And I think that your point of having a whole of government approach, that this is not only federal, but it's federal, state, local. We all need to be working together to enforce protections, to see what protections are there, to strengthen them if they need to be strengthened, and to make sure that we are making sure that we're protecting and enforcing rights that folks have to access mental health care.
Lisa, I'm curious if this is because we've come out of a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been isolated. I haven't heard a lot about, these services. I'm going to assume that they're not new, but how have they become such a priority at this time? Is it a result of the pandemic? The fact that people are still I'm not saying they need to come to work, but you're at work.
Yeah.
I'm at work,
Yeah.
and that interaction certainly does help. So, what is there? Tell me how this has become such a priority for the Department of Labor.
Sure. No, you are exactly right. Mental health, certainly mental health issues and substance use disorder issues certainly were out there way before the pandemic. And the mental health parity rules, like the requirements to have equal treatment when it comes to mental health care as compared to medical care, have been on the books. But with the pandemic, and with, as you say, people being isolated, dealing with illness, dealing with loss, dealing with losing jobs, changing weight. There were so many changes and so many effects. Kids in school having to not be in school, having their school experience interrupted. I mean, just so many aspects of the pandemic that really altered people's experiences and amplified mental health issues and substance use disorder issues. People were alone and perhaps turning to substances more to deal with what they were feeling. And so we have really, since the pandemic, have increased our efforts to try to reach out to individuals to let them know that we are here, that we're an agency who is available to call us, reach out to us, either if you're having trouble accessing treatment, if you can't find a provider. Once you've come to the point that it's hard to come to terms with the fact that you need help. It can be hard for lots of people. Once you get to that point, you shouldn't have trouble trying to get that help. And so whether you're having trouble accessing a provider, finding a provider that's not a long drive away or takes 6 months to get to, or if you're lucky enough and you found a provider to get to those benefits, that you're not having to go through various steps of pre-authorization and having claims denied and all of these various obstacles that can be in the way. So we are really focused, and for the past 2 years have been very focused on enforcing rights and increasing our outreach through shows like yours today to make sure that people know that we're there and we're available. And we have benefits advisors through the Employee Benefit Security Administration, or EBSA, that are across the country and are available by phone toll free. And I can give the number if that's okay. It's
Sure. Yes, definitely.
It's 1-866-444-3272. And those last four numbers stand for EBSA, the Employee Benefit Security Administration. If you call that number, if anyone were to call that number and say, hey, I'm having trouble accessing care, can you help me? I'm having trouble getting my claims paid. And we do that for all benefits, but we're focused right now, particularly this month. And, generally we're focused on mental health, because mental health is health, but folks really need assistance and in accessing those benefits. So we're here to help.
When you talk about employees, is there an additional responsibility on the part of the employer at this point now to make sure that employees know what their rights are?
There definitely is. It's a great question. And as I mentioned before, mental health, we are in a mental health crisis. We've been in a mental health crisis, and it's something that we all need to be working together, whether it's any level of government, communities, families, and employers and employees need to be working together. So from the employer standpoint, at the Department of Labor, the department generally has a mental health at work initiative. And if you go to the department's website, which is dol.gov, you'll see on our main page, there's a link to the Mental Health at Work initiative. And we have information there, both to your point, to employers to explain what obligations employers have with respect to their employees when we're talking about mental health, different resources that employers can use about how to help their employees. And so we have a lot of information and publications, links there for employers. We also have information for workers, not only for workers who might themselves be living with mental health conditions or substance use disorders, but for workers who may be working with people who are struggling, to give them information on how you can help your coworkers. So it's a great website, and I really commend people to take a look at it.
We're almost out of time, but I hate to, beat up on employers, but the point is, if an employee files a complaint, right? What are they asking for in that complaint, and how do you monitor to make sure that their complaints are being addressed in a timely manner? Because that could be stressful. Just filing a complaint is stressful, right?
Sure.
So, and then you file a complaint, and you don't hear from anybody, so then that's even more stressful. So, what is that process?
Right.
If you could tell us,
Right.
briefly.
Sure. So when it comes to accessing your health benefits, we don't have a system like with some government agencies where you might just file a complaint and then you wait to hear what happens. With us, you contact us either by phone or by accessing our website address, and we're dealing with you directly. It's not just filling out a form and never hearing, or waiting to hear. We're communicating with you every step of the way and trying to help you on working with your employer, your health plan, to make sure that what you need, you get the answers that you need. So I really recommend that people call and we can be a resource. And this is for all employees. I mean, this is not just, even though it's a federal law, this doesn't relate just to federal employees. This is all employees that we're talking about. And there are different, depending on where you might work, there might be different resources available to you, but you can always come to us. And if we're not the right place, we can point you in the right direction. So it's a great number to keep in mind.
Thank you, because you just answered my next question, because I also wanted to ask, as I said, we have relationships with chambers of commerce in the DC area, small businesses, and just some people may be wondering, well, what is my obligation as a private employer to make sure that we are taking care of our employees in need of care? And is there anything you could tell us about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Again, this is a group effort, so we love to get folks involved no matter what business, type of business, size of business, where you're located. But if you go to the dol.gov website on mental health at work, we have resources there for employers, all types, private, public, information that's available. And then also on the employee side, no matter where you're working, we can help you. And even if we don't have direct enforcement ability over whatever plan you're in, we can point you in the right direction. So like I said, it's hard enough to live with these conditions. We don't want to make it harder to find help. So come to us, and if we can't help you, we'll point you in the place where you need to go.
Well, I think just you being here with us today, Lisa, is just a tremendous relief, and hopefully folks have heard this message. They'll continue to hear it as we share it post this interview, to know that there's help out there. And that's what people need to know, that there is help. I feel better.
I'm so glad. We can make one person feel better every day. We're doing our job. That's what we want to do.
Wonderful. Well, stay in touch. We want to make sure that we provide our viewers and readers with more information that your agency, Department of Labor, provides, because people are still working, they're still looking for jobs, and they want the best experience. So I'm glad that you're there and shared this time with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great speaking with you.
All righty. Have a great one. Have a good weekend, and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Yes. All right. You and all the mothers.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
So again, make sure you record that information. We're going to have it up on our website and our social channels following this program. And make sure you share it, even if you're not that person in need. That you have someone that you can share it with, or you have information you can share to those who might need it. That's what we're all about here with on the Washington Foreman News and on Let's Talk, to provide information that folks can use. We're going to go now to our next guest, who is Gary Charles. He's the founder and CEO of the Advancement of Blacks in Sports. But before we bring him on, let's watch this brief video.
We all are struggling in all of those areas of life, meaning mentally, physically, socially, and interpersonally.
And the awakening can be painful when we start to come back to our brilliance and our magnificence and our uniqueness.
I didn't do the research so people would think that I was good at it. I did all that because I wanted to be true to me. You know, you talked about this generation. It's because that this generation can be so fake that they can trick themselves. We couldn't trick ourselves, right? Like, I knew when I lost. You know what I'm saying? I knew when I wasn't as good as I'm supposed to be.
Wow, that's a powerful video, Gary. I'm almost sorry I wasn't at the conference. That was good. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before we get into what that was all about, tell us about the organization, Advancement of Blacks in Sports, why you started it, and what are the issues or the missions and goals of the organization?
So do I have 5 hours? Then I can tell you. No?
You do, but you might be talking to yourself after about 5 minutes.
Well, you know what? Our group was started after the murder of George Floyd. After watching that, I felt compelled to say something. And I went on Twitter, and what I said on Twitter went viral. And I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but I'll just give you a short verse of it, which was, I started out as saying, you know, hey, white people, I understand you're uncomfortable watching us march. Understand, as Black people, we walk uncomfortable every day. I wish no one was burning any buildings down. That's not right. But you know what? I wish your ancestors felt the same way about burning a whole town on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. White coaches, your silence is coming out, you're allowed to. But Black coaches, what are we going to do about this? When are we going to come together? So after doing that, Denise, I reached out to Coach Dave Lato, who was at the University of DePaul at the time, and a very close friend of mine, to talk about what we were going to do. Then we reached out to Leonard Hamilton of Florida State. He's still there, the men's basketball coach. And then we reached out to Dawn Staley, who just won another championship at South Carolina. And then with her, we reached out to Coach Vivian Stringer, the women's basketball coach at Rutgers University, who then instructed me to reach out to a woman by the name of Felicia Hart Allen. And when I reached out to Felicia, who joined, the movie started. Okay, meaning that now everyone, the floodgate opened up. And that's how the organization got started.
What was your background, Gary? I mean, what are you an athlete? What got you into focusing on sports, Blacks in sports? Tell us a little bit about your history.
Sure. I grew up in Roosevelt, Long Island. I actually grew up with Eddie Murphy and Chuck D from Public Enemy.
Okay.
And, Steve Mills, who's the former president of the New York Knicks, and Dr. J's hometown. And obviously Dr. J was older than us, but so that's kind of a close unit group I come from. I went to Cheyney University, and matter of fact, Hall of Famer John Cheyney, who became the Temple coach, was my physical education professor, and Vivian Stringer was the women coach at the time. So we were a very proud group because of what we had. I went to work on Wall Street for 20 years, and but then I became a grassroots coach. And what that means is I'm the first person to ever get a shoe contract from a shoe company, from a traveling stage at for a traveling team. That was Adidas, and it was through Sonny Vaccaro, who was the gentleman who signed Michael Jordan to his first deal. And Sonny had wanted to start programs for grassroots, so I was the first one. I went on to coach over 20 pros. But I also was the gentleman who brought in Kobe Bryant out of high school. I was the guy who said to Sonny, this is going to be the next guy. You need to sign him. And we did. We signed. But I went on to coach Lamar Odom, Joakim Noah, Danny Green, Lance Stevenson, and just on and on and on. So I became known as the godfather of grassroots basketball. So when I reached out to those guys, I had the opportunity to have a voice in getting them together.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I mean, some people send emails, post to social media, what have you, and folks don't pay attention, but they paid attention to you. And so it was good that you were able to start this organization. And so now you're dealing with the issue of diversity and inclusion and wellness and all of that. I mean, how it sounds like it's expanded. Your goal, your mission has expanded since you started. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I think what's important for everyone to understand is that in the Power 5 conferences, in basketball, 95% of the starters are Black. In football, 92% are Black, and on and on and on. So why is it that we can't hire more Black coaches? So it's important for us to bring these things out. So when I talk to search firms and ADs who say, well, Gary, we don't know who they are. Really? Well, here's the answer to the test. So we give them a list now, and we call it the watch list. Here are the top coaches, and this is for all sport. I don't want people to think it's just basketball. This is for volleyball, track and field, baseball, football. And we give them a list of who the top up-and-coming assistant coaches are in the country, minority-wide, and also who the top mid-major coaches are. And since we've done that, over 40% of job openings have now gone to minority. So that's just one aspect of things we do. One of the things that we are extremely proud of is our financial education program, in which JP Morgan, shout out to JP Morgan, they gave us a grant to teach 12 different colleges what's NIL all about, what's budgeting and saving, how do you budget your money, how do you save your money? Because Denise, 4.5 years after athletes retire, 78% of athletes after 4.5 years after they retire, they go broke. Why is that?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, and the fact that what we hear on the news consumer side is all these major contracts and all this big money that's floating through these athletes' pockets. We don't know how it actually transfers, but yeah, the fact that that large percentage of them end up broke is amazing. So, what impact is that having?
Well, now the athletes are understanding, because now what we're teaching them about budget and saving. We teach them about credit. Oh, TransUnion, that's what that means. Equifax. Oh, that's why my credit score needs to be high. Oh, I can get a house that I understand now. And then we teach them investment. We give them $100,000 in virtual money, not real money, to go invest, because we teach them about investment. So they get to see how it goes up and down. And then afterward, we reward them. So this year, we're proud to say that 10 athletes are going to be coming to our gala, which I just have to tell you about, Denise.
Go proceed. Tell us about it, because it's coming this way.
Absolutely. So every year, Denise, we felt that it was important for people to recognize Black sports excellence, what we have done, for this country. So every year we do this award. It's called the Champion of Legends Gala. The last couple of years we've done it in Vegas, but this year we thought it was important that we brought it to the DMV area, because Denise, I just felt bad that you could not be there. Okay, so I felt it was more important to bring it out your way.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So hey, I gotta take care of my girl.
Thank you.
So every year we honor, certain people, and we have awards named after certain people. So example, we have the John Carlos Tommy Smith Award, and most people don't even know who that is. But when I raise my fist, they go, right. Oh my God, that's the guy? Absolutely. And what's amazing is the first year we gave it to a white man, okay, who was an ally, because we cannot forget the allies who've been there for us. And Dr. Lapchick was very instrumental in being close to John Carlos, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was so close to them that at one point he got jumped by two white men, and they scribbled an N-word across his chest.
Wow.
Think about that. So we have different awards like that. We have the Sonny Vaccaro Champion of Change Award, the Coach Eddie Robinson Coaches Award, the Jackie Jordan Kersey Excellence Award, the Vivian Stringer Pioneer Award, which went to Dawn Staley, the first year. We even honored Joe and Pam Bryant, Kobe's parents, the first year. It was really touching. Last year, we even honored Tracy McGrady. Oh, Dr. J, the first year, he received the award. We also honored Ryan Clark from ESPN with the Sports Media Award. In the first year,
Good.
gave it to your girl, Jamil Hill.
All right. All right. You're mentioning a lot of folks, Gary, that when I think we just came through February, Black History Month, and we know the big names, in sports, but there's so many athletes and pioneers who really made a difference in all aspects of sports. I just watched a documentary not too long ago about a woman with the Special Olympics. Unfortunately, her name just went out of my head, but it'll come back. But it was an amazing story. I'd never heard of her before. And the work she did as a track and field athlete with the Special Olympics years ago. So to me, this also, helps to highlight the fact that, these athletes are making a contribution to our community, and you're taking time to honor them.
Now, thank you for saying that. And I'll give you a name. We're honoring Beverly Kearney this year. Beverly Kearney was the first minority to be named a coach at the University of Texas.
Wow.
She did track and field. It's funny that you just brought that up. She ended up winning 7 national track and field championships. She coached over 12 Olympians. People don't know about that. Well, you know what? You're going to know now because she's one of our honorees. And by the way, we don't just hold it to sports. We're honoring Ben Crump this year. And we're giving him the John Carlos Tommy Smith Social Activist Award because of what he's done.
Yes, deserved. Uh-huh.
Our awards are named after a sports personality, but we're honoring all these people that need to be part of it. Hey, we're honoring Melanie Ali, Muhammad Ali's wife. Okay? How about that? Because it's important for people to understand the things that we have done, out there. And by the way, just so you know, we're honoring Sashi Brown, the president of the Baltimore Ravens. They had a heck of a year, so he's receiving the Executive of the Year award. Whoa. Let me not forget now. We're honoring the Howard University swimming team.
Oh, yeah.
They're done competing against the PWI school. We see you. We're honoring you. And by the way, my favorite award, and I'm going to be biased now, I went to Cheney University, the first HBCU school. And guess what? In 1982, the Cheney Wolves, because it was Cheney State at the time, made it to the Final Four, actually made it to the championship game. The only HBCU school to this day that's ever done that. But Denise, you know what the shame of it was? In the Final Four, you do a T-shirt and you have 4 teams on there, right?
Yeah.
Do you know they only put 3 teams on that T-shirt? And they left the girls off, the Cheney State girls off?
Why am I not surprised?
How are we not surprised? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, everyone? They're receiving the Trailblazing Award this year. I cannot wait because I was there. Those are my girls. And I am so happy that ABIS, all agreed to honor those girls. So
I mean, so tell me when this is going to take place. We've been putting the flyer up, but tell me when will it take place again, where, and how can folks get involved?
It's May 31st to June 2nd at the MGM National Harbor and Casino in National Harbor, Maryland. May 31st to June 2nd. As a matter of fact, that Friday, which starts at 2 p.m., our keynote speaker is Representative James Clyburn out of South Carolina. Come on now, we're not playing. And then we have 2 professional development sessions right after that, including financial education and also how do you get in the game. And by the way, we're also honoring Paxton Baker, your very own. He's part owner of the Washington Nationals. Okay,
exactly.
So part of that. Now, and that night, by the way, we're having a go-go band. Okay, the Junkyard Band is performing that night.
Yes, DC. Yep, you're bringing them in.
We're doing it. And then Saturday, we start again at 9 a.m., 9 to 1 with more professional development sessions. You need to sign up. And then that night will be our gala, which starts at 6:30 with the red carpet. You can go on Eventbrite, do a search for ABIS Champion Legend, or you can go right to the site. Go to weareabis.org. Weareabis.org. Go purchase your ticket. get involved, come and have some fun, and learn our history. Because that's what's important. Too many people are trying to erase our history, and Denise, we're not gonna let them.
Well, the other thing, before I let you go, Gary, that we were finding, and talking about the pandemic and mental wellness and all that, is that there was a time, maybe a couple of years ago, we were finding some of these high school, particularly in the DMV, that were having a hard time trying to man or woman their teams. Right? Kids just weren't trying out, and so and then not understanding, one. An athletic scholarship, athletics can result in a college scholarship, right? Which can go take you kind of wherever you want to go, with the academics, of course, there as well. So has Abyss, has it gotten to the point now where it's also, trying to encourage young people? Will they be able to come out to this conference? Is there any space for them, like, local athletic teams to come in and participate?
We're bringing in 10 of the athletes that participated this year in our financial coaching program to the camp, so they could see just exactly what's going on. And these athletes are really the ones that need to be on there, because it's going to be so many people that's going to be there that they're aspiring to be. One of the things that we've heard is that a lot of these kids, certain things they don't do because they don't see them themselves sitting there. So it's important for us, they need to see you, to see me, to see other people like that. Because so yes, we definitely want them there. Here's something that's extremely important. You have a chance to becoming a neurosurgeon than you do becoming a pro. Okay. Right. But you know what? You don't have to be, you have to bounce a basketball or throw a football to be involved in sport. You can become an AD, you can become an agent, you can become the president, you can become an administrator. There are so many things. You
can become a journalist.
Journalist. How about that? You can become a journalist. You could be on ESPN. This is $1 billion industry right now. Stop closing it to just thinking that you just got to be playing that game, because that's a very minute situation. But you know what? There's a whole other things you can do, and that's what we're trying to point out, to these young people.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing this information with us, for selecting the Gaylord or MGM to come to National Harbor to bring this program. We are going to do our part to make sure that we get those seats filled and having folks participate. And of course, we'll be there to cover. So, Gary, thanks for creating this opportunity.
Denise, seriously, thank you for having me. And DMV, I'm counting on you. All right. So please, okay, because we want to stay. All right. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Okie doke. Gary Charles, thank you so very much. And we will talk to you soon, and have a good one. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Take care.
All righty. Yeah, whatever we can do to inspire our young people. And I love what he's doing. I love the fact that he's honoring folks that, and it doesn't matter whether, it seems like it's intergenerational, it's multicultural, it's understanding at least our story, because our story brings in a whole lot of other folk. And I appreciate Gary for doing that. So I'm glad he was here to talk to us, and hopefully you can come to our website and hear more about this conference and banquet gala that's coming up in the end of May and June. And we look forward to having a successful event. And speaking of success, we've got elections coming up. I mean, big ones. And this is a serious year. And so I am extremely honored to have Melanie Campbell with us, President and CEO of the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation and the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Melanie, welcome to Let's Talk. Yeah, we need you to cut your mic on.
Glad to be here. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that sweatshirt. What's it say? Power?
Yeah, power of the ballot.
Power of the ballot. Okay. All right, folks. It's crazy that we have to keep reminding people of that, right?
Yes.
But we do.
And the primaries are even harder.
Right. So tell us, what you've been up to with regards to, I mean, a lot of people know about the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation. You are not a secret in America. You are at the forefront of making sure that everybody, but especially Black folks, are involved and engaged. But what are you all doing right now to make sure that we are getting people out for the primaries that are coming up?
Well, Denise, we have something we call the Unity Power the Ballot campaign, nonpartisan, right? And it's got multifaceted, built a coalition, trying to get as many of our organizations to work together under what we call a unity banner. We have a bus tour in Maryland because they have the presidential primary going on, and Maryland will have a lot to say about what the power looks like, dynamics in Congress next year, as well as the White House. So we're here. We started, I think it was on the 2nd of May, and we've been pushing. No, not even the 2nd of May. It was on a couple days before that. But we've been out here pushing to educate our community, get them to vote in the early primary in Maryland, which was May 2nd through the 9th. That's over. And now election day is May 14th. And so there's a lot of information, not just the Black community. A lot of times people don't realize the importance of a primary and that they need to vote in the primary and in the general election in November. So what we're hearing on the streets is people didn't realize there was an election coming up. So we're educating and informing and engaging everywhere we can get to. We have a bus tour. We have folks. We're working real close with Reverend Tony Lee and Nico Hobson and others. They're hitting the clubs at night. We're hitting the churches, so through the polls. We're on radio. We're putting information in the Black newspapers, getting information out to our community to be aware that there's an election and what's at stake in the election. The power of the ballot is understanding that the ballot is not just about the candidate, but what the candidate's going to do and the issues that are important to our communities. When we're under such attack with our rights and freedoms, this election will determine what kind of country we live in come January 2025.
Melanie, you all have boots on the ground. You're out there talking to people. What is it, besides the fact of lack of knowledge, of not knowing that there's a primary, but what is the resistance if you're finding that? And how are you trying to overcome the resistance of people even wanting to participate this year?
First of all, listening, right? Just listen to somebody. When they say, I'm not going to vote, you ask the question, why? Is there something? And then you listen to what they have to say. And a lot of times you can convince somebody that they have more power than they realize, and that they've been let down by elected officials or things like that. Or sometimes they may have not have the ability, think they don't have the ability to vote because they don't know that if you've had have been incarcerated, that you can vote. Or in some cases, they just have been turned off. So you try to listen. That's the first and foremost thing. And then share what you know. So when they tell you what would make you vote, have the conversation. It's a lot of work, which is why coalition is so important, because you have to have the ability to knock on those doors, talk to folks in the shopping centers on the parking lot, be in the clubs, do whatever we need to be at the churches and share and listen, because a lot of times people say, oh, they're just apathetic. I don't believe in apathy. I believe that people many times have been let down and they feel like the system is just not is up against them. And then when you're able to do that, sometimes you can turn people around and they go ahead and take that ballot and use it because there's power in it, or they wouldn't be. In Maryland is not one of the places that you have really bad voting laws, but in a lot of places where Black people live, they continue to. Georgia's a place that just recently passed another set of voter suppression laws because they don't want us to use that ballot as a power to make a difference in our community.
And that's where I was going to go next. I mean, talking about that, I know the last couple of election cycles, there was a whole lot of conversation about voter suppression, and you and other organizations were keeping a watchful eye on, just how if people were able to vote and what were some of the barriers to that. But, you talk about Atlanta. What are you seeing right now that, you're having to overcome when it comes to, or inform and educate voters when it comes to voter suppression? And is it still, clearly you said it's still happening, but where and how?
Right. Like I'll use Georgia as an example with the governor just passing a new set of voter suppression laws that make it where the Voting Rights Act doesn't really have the power that it needs to monitor because of a case from 2013, right? And we haven't done the reform. So, for instance, changing polling places at the last minute and being able to, and making it where you make it where you can, if you're out here like an organization like ours, making it harder for us and passing laws to make it illegal to give somebody water, things like those kinds of things that matter. And then making it so that people, and then you have people who are just doing things that have nothing to do with the law, but they spread bad information. We were part of a lawsuit that the Lawyers Committee led for us that we won in a case where people make phone calls and threaten and tell you that if you have a speeding ticket or if you got issues with child support, that if you go vote that you're going to end up getting locked up. So people are target our communities in many, many different various ways. So we have to make sure that folks know we spread that number 1-866 our vote. So if you feel like you're having problems at the polls, pick up that phone and call the election protection. And the reality is, and I say it to especially younger people, that if it didn't matter, they surely would be passing laws to block you from using it, right? And finally and if there are folks who study, and this is fact and not being partisan, it's primarily the Republican Party that does this and targets Black and brown voters. Why? Because we are a force when it comes to swinging an election one way or the other. And if you can find a way to skim that off or get bad information and go after, like a lot of the attacks on through social media goes after Black young people, Black and brown young people, getting them bad information, even about candidates that's not true. So you're always fighting that force, but we look at the hand that's dealt and try to shift our strategies. But most importantly is encouraging people
I think
that it matters.
And I think, like you said, we're only represent 13-14% of the population in America. However, voting is down all across the board, right? But so when it comes to people actually turning out to vote, and with the effort that you all and others have been engaged in, our numbers could be represented so much higher. Actually, that's why I think the threat is there, because you all are doing so much. We all are, even the Black press, to try to make sure that we keep our numbers high, because then we can control a lot of that election turnout. On the flip side of voter suppression, what have you seen that really seems promising? I know that there's some places where you can register on the same day that you vote. I mean, there's some doors are opening in like the District of Columbia. If you're an ex-offender or a returning citizen, you can vote. You can vote even if you're locked up in DC jail. Right. So talk about some of those things.
Yeah. Well, because we're right here in Maryland, we're right now in Baltimore, and when I get off with you, we're about to hit these Baltimore streets, right? And get out here on this bus and hit some canvassing in neighborhoods and shopping centers and wherever we can find folks. But in Maryland, if you're not registered to vote, you can show up on Tuesday, May the 14th, and register and vote. So the states like that, and then you have a state like Georgia that's trying to suppress. Right. So it always depends on where you are. States have a lot of control over the systems, and because we still need to reform federally voting rights reform, where the Justice Department can monitor to make sure people's votes are protected, not as strong because of prior Supreme Court cases. We have, every state is a little bit different, so we have to look where we're working and educate our folks on knowing what their rights are and what their opportunities are to exercise their power through the power of that vote, power of the ballot.
We're going to have hundreds of thousands of college students walking across the stage to get that piece of paper over the next couple of weeks. What are you finding on college campuses? Are they engaged? I know here in the District of Columbia, we heard from the Board of Elections that they were surprised by the increased number of young people that are registering. Now, we don't know what the turnout's going to be, but they're
Yes,
registering. So,
and that's hard to gauge.
mhm.
But in the states that we've been, as well, young people are tuning in. They are concerned. The biggest concern you hear on college campuses right now is what's going on in the Middle East, quite frankly. So, so that's a big issue. And you see what's happening. It's not disconnected what's happening with a lot of the protests that you're seeing across the country. And young people are connecting that to the presidency election. And so I think we will see a higher turnout. We'll see what that looks like. But they're tuned in.
Great. Well, I know you got work to do out there to get folks organized. Anything you want to share with us before we let you go?
Just to anybody listening out there, whether you live in Maryland or not, encourage your family, your friends to turn out and vote in the Maryland primary. If you are a Maryland person and you're not sure where to go to vote.org, vote.org, and it can tell you where you can go vote. And if you're not registered, you can still register. Own that power, right? Our ancestors fought for us to have it. Let's not misuse it by sitting it on the dresser. Take that time and use that power to make a difference for yourself, your family, and community.
Melanie Campbell, thank you so very much for being with us. Thanks for all the work that you've been doing. And,
and you too, my sister.
Hopefully it'll pay off on Tuesday.
and thanks for sharing the word and making sure our folks are informed with good information. Appreciate you.
All right. Likewise. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
So before I close today, let me, as I go back, and congratulate all of those college graduates that are going to be walking across the stage. As I said, Howard University's graduation is tomorrow. On Saturday, UDC, University of District of Columbia's graduation is tomorrow. So congratulations to them. And then, I don't want to forget those young people that will be graduating from high school and middle school, even elementary school and preschool over the next couple of weeks. We've got a lot of balloons and just, we want to celebrate our young people every step of the way, keep them encouraged, and, just make sure that they know that they have a family and a community that's standing behind them and supporting them every step of the way. And I wish all of them continued success. And I just hope for those college grads that you will not be overburdened by student loans. That's a whole nother issue, but folks are working on that. So good luck. And also for all the mothers and those who play a significant motherly role, happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day on Sunday. I look forward to spending Mother's Day with my mother, Vera Abbott, who is watching, and I'm so glad that she is. So we will be spending the day with her and celebrating her. And maybe I'll get a little bit in there too as a mom. And also to our Washington Informer staff, Chevry Lassiter, who is our producer. Happy Mother's Day to you, Chevry, and all the Washington Informer family. We certainly do want to make sure that you have a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day. And I also want to thank our special guests from the U.S. Department of Labor, Assistant Secretary Lisa Gomez, Gary Charles of ABIS, and Melanie Campbell of the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation. But most importantly, I want to thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk on WIN TV. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So we'll see you back here next week. Make sure you tune in for more engaging discussions and conversations. If you have any topics you'd like for us to share or talk about, feel free to reach out to us at news@washingtoninformer.com. That's news, NEWS@washingtoninformer.com. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I will see you next week. This is Denise Rollard Barnes signing off.